Okay, Paul, I'll get into some charts. I'm going to do something different today. My three favorite charts, I'll show you those, and I'll show you some other charts too. Anyway, this is another one of these sessions that George wanted to call office hours, and it's supposed to be a question and answer session. But I don't, I'm not getting much interaction. I'd like to have more. But I'll just go over some things with you. It may last an hour, it may last a half hour. It just depends on what I get covered and if people do have questions. So anyway, this is my standard risk disclaimer. I don't need to read this to you. It's all here, and you've seen hundreds of these if you watch online webinars. And if you're not an HGSI member, which I assume most of you are, you can get a free trial. So let me get rid of this. And I'm using, it doesn't work on Thinkorswim, but on the other programs there's this dot that I'm using. It's not quite as distracting as what I used last time. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick look at the market using Thinkorswim. I think most of you have Thinkorswim. I'm not sure. Ulrich, do you have Thinkorswim? Do you have access to it? Well, maybe he's not listening to me. Anyway, these are the internals that I put together, and I shared them with you, but I added to them today. Yeah, James, I realize that. And I may just start doing videos rather than doing these live sessions. It frees me up not to have to conform to a certain time. And the whole purpose of this really is to ask questions and have interaction. And if I don't have that, I may just start doing some shorter videos on things that I think are relevant. Okay. Anyway, I've added some things to this, and I just did this today. Now, I shared this with people the other day, and I'm going to share it with you again for you to import into Thinkorswim if you want to. But we have like advancing versus declining, and this is a daily chart. What's nice about this, though, is you can go to a different chart, and this is just a 5-minute chart, and this is the advancing declining issues on the NYSE, and here's where the market opened today, and you can see that the advancers overcame the decliners, and it started moving up, then it flattened out, and it's flattened out here, and now it's starting to go up a little bit. But all of these can be graphed if you link your symbol. Now I have this linked with red, and it's red up here. So it's just a nice way to look at things. Let me look at a couple other things. This is the AD versus on the composite. You can see it's pretty much the same thing. Strong move up the first, this is 10 o'clock when it rolled over. So and this is 8:30 Central Time, so about an hour and a half. It reached its maximum of advancers versus decliners. But any of these can be graphed over here. And I also just stuck in today. Now, here's the composite. This is a 5-minute chart. Let me go back to a daily chart. This is a NASDAQ composite. You can see that it's a indecisive spinning top candle at this time. And let's compare that to the NYA. And you can see the NYA has more of a hammer, or it is a hammer. It opened up here, traded all the way down here, and hammered out a daily bottom so far. Now, obviously, that can change before the market closes. Here's the S&P 500, same thing. You can see the big gap down from yesterday. It opened here, traded down to here, and here's where it currently is. It's been this high. And then I also put the 400 in here and the 600. And hey, Paul, when I shared this with you, did this daily range column come over or not? See the percent daily range? No, okay. I think I have to get that code to you, and I'm going to have to look it up and figure out how I did that. It's been so long. I'm going to have to do that separately. But this is really handy here because if you look down this column, I can see the percent of the daily range. And going down here, I also added the sectors, the spider sectors in, and I can see where the strength or weakness is today. And you can see that XLE Energy, I'll bring it up, it's currently trading at 95% of its daily range. And this represents a daily range, so it's at 95%. Oh, does TOS have the percent daily range built into it? I didn't know if it did or not. If it does, great. If so, add that column. Also, okay, so here's the energy. Now, if I go to the tech sector, XLK, and if you, these aren't identified here. Well, they are, I suppose, if I move this all the way out, you can kind of see what they are then. Here's the tech sector, but it also shows up here in this window, and you can see that tech gap down, it traded down to here, and it's coming back just a little bit. So just looking at this, I can see that, you know, tech's bad, and some of the other markets aren't doing so poorly. Here's the S&P 400. Gap down here, traded down here, and buyers stepped into it. So this is very helpful if you just want a quick read on the market. Now, do you want me to share that with you? Okay, TOS has daily relative range. Does it have percent daily range? Okay, here's the latest one that I just did. Okay, I'm going to paste it in here. And you can copy that link, and then up under setup, is this the way you imported that? Just open shared items. Does it bring these watch lists in also? I've never imported a watch list. Okay, so open shared items and then paste that link in here and preview it. What? I can't hear you. Okay. We're getting some more people in here. Anyway, I shared that with you. If you have Thinkorswim, you can put it in, see if you like it. But it's just a nice way to get a quick read on the market. Okay, I'm not going to do anything else with Thinkorswim right now, except take a quick look at see what's going on here, and the market's kind of mixed. Okay, now I'm going to bring this sheet up. These are some things I want to talk about today. I've decided I'm not going to do that webinar series until January. The reason is there's too much stuff going on. Election is next week, and then we're into the holiday season, and it's just hard to have any continuity when we're in the holiday season. So I'm going to put it off till January. I've had between 20 and 30 people indicate they want to do it so far. I really don't want to do it unless I have 40 people and preferably 50. And it's just not worth my time. So intraday market updating and analysis. I want to talk about that a little bit, like I always do. I'm going to do a little more with the top 50 group inclusion report. Show you how you can make that filter like I showed you last time and apply it to user smart groups after they're updated. I'm going to do a multiple chart comparison just to give you different looks at the market. And that's one nice thing about HGSI. You can create unlimited charts and quickly flip between the charts. So you can get a different perspective, I guess is a good way to say it. And then I'm going to talk about relative strength scans. And I put some bongo screens in. I don't know if Robert's on or not. I know he likes to use, I don't see him. He likes to use the bongo screens. So I'm going to cover those too. And this came in as a tweet today from Mark Minervini. I think it's pretty logical here. No big losses, no averaging down, no chasing extended stocks, no giving back decent profits. Always get odds on my money, and by that I mean I think he means he's looking for low risk entries to get odds. And this came today from IBD. Since IBD called a confirmed uptrend after the October 21st follow-through day, we've seen stocks breaking out left and right. Well, it didn't last, unfortunately. Only time will tell if this is a tradable short-term rally or the beginning of something much bigger. But in the meantime, savvy investors should be on the lookout for new trade setups. So they called it on October 21st. I'm going to go into our program here, and I'm going to look at October 21st and see what they were looking at and use some of my charts. So I'm going to do that next. These are some questions somebody sent me today, how to add an RS line to a chart. I'll show you how I have an RS line. I compare it to the S&P 500. That'll be in one of my charts. How to adjust the average volume line. The default's 90 days, and the reason it's 90 days is because all of the VPA flags are based upon 90-day volume average. Do I have a TOS watch list indicated for relative volume intraday? No, I really don't think so, Ralph. I'm trying to think if I do. I don't think I do. I just well, actually, yes, I do. The way I do it is I look at. Do you have this layout here? But what you can do is, I think this is the way I do it. I'm going to maximize this cell, and the way it's, let me get this out of the way. I have this always on top right now. 1 day. Okay, let's do a 1 day, 5 day, 15 minutes. So you can go in and change these, and this isn't a real accurate way to do it, but you can count the bars for certain time frames. So after 5 bars today, this is where we stood, and after 5 bars yesterday when the market was tanking, it was clear down here, so it took this many bars here to get to this point where it was yesterday. Does that make sense? Okay, there's 5. So this was yesterday before the Fed meeting, and then see how this expanded after Powell came in and gave his speech about there may be more interest rate hikes in the future. So these are, what did I say, 5 or 15? 15-minute bars. These are 15-minute bars, and you can see how the relative volume changed compared to the prior day. No, I don't have anything like that. I just use it in with what it says for HGSI. Because that is projected volume, and I don't think Thinkorswim has anything like that. I don't know. I could be wrong. Anybody else have anything that they know of? Now, the way HGSI works is, let me just bring up a chart here. Let's do QQQ. These are some charts I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to go up here. What we have here is a comparison for the current time of day compared to yesterday at this same time. I mean, that's the way I understand it. But this tells me that volume based compared to the 90 and the 50 is running a little bit heavier than it was yesterday at this time. And you can see the projected volume here on the magenta portion of this volume bar. So based upon the current data, and I need to do something, I put this on manual update. So let's go in and update intraday now. And let's see how this changes. Okay, you can see it's changing here. Okay, now look at this. It's still updating. It's updating all three charts. That's why it's taking so long. So now, sorry about that. So now it's only showing that the 90-day volume is running above yesterday's at this point. And this is totally understandable because yesterday, as the market was selling off, we had this huge volume spike. But other than that, I don't think there's any way to do it. But I pretty much trust these numbers because, as a rule, not very early in the morning. Maybe after the first hour or so. Early morning, totally untrustworthy because the sample is not a large enough sample to compare to the prior day. There's so much activity as the market opens and begins. So I'm sorry I can't help you on that. If I run across anything, I will let you know. Have you done any searches on it to see if anybody else has something like that? Because there's a lot of indicators out there for Thinkorswim that people are willing to share. All right, let's move on. What I want to do, since I just updated the intraday data, I'm going to go in and I'm going to go into industries, and I'm going to rebuild these. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go down to my market analysis user groups. I'm going to go to the major indexes only, actually, major indexes, industries, and sectors. Since I just updated, I can rebuild these under the Tools menu, and it's going to give me a current read on what these indexes are doing. Does anybody else ever do this? I know Paul does occasionally. It doesn't take long to do this. I'm doing quite a few indexes. This is one of the beauties of HGSI. You can do these. You can create any index that you want to. And, I've created all these and all these specialty indexes. And then you have a visual of what's going on in the market. Now I'm going to click through And I'm going to bring up my quick pick, and under this folder, top down scorecard views for HGSI index analysis, here's the percentage price change 1 day, and even though this is an end of day, it's current because I just built these indexes. Now I can see the energy index is up, transports, utilities, and so on. Let's go down and find that tech index, which is lagging, and it's down 1.6%. This is valuable, but number 3 is the most valuable if you want to look and see the advancing issues versus declining issues. Okay, thanks, Ralph. I'll give it a try. I'll pick that up later. I don't want to stop right now. Thanks for putting it in there, though. Actually, let me get it out of here. Control C. And I'm going to just put it there so I have it later on my notes. Okay, so let's go in here, and I want to take a look at the S&P 500. You can see the advancers versus decliners are actually slightly positive now. Now these numbers are calculated when I rebuild the indexes, so I can get a intraday view anytime I want to, and then I can analyze these charts. Now what I want to do here is I want to go in to my HGSI index charts, and I'm going to go look at chart number 6. I'll use this one. Actually, this one has the moving averages 6, and I removed the moving averages and put candles in here for a little better look. So let's just use this one. And the date that I want to see what was happening on October 21st, okay? That's when IBD called a confirmed uptrend. So if I click on here, I believe this is the 21st. I'll bring up the information window, and you can see that this is the 21st right here. And HGSI, when I put a crosshair on it, I can see why they made the call. What I don't like is, there's still resistance here off to the left, but based upon price and volume, right here on this chart, there is a pocket pivot, and up here the volume point of control went green, the force index 2. Oh, I'm sorry, here's the volume point of control. This is a buy signal, which takes into account all of these indicators above it. So here's the volume point of control. Here's the 2-day force index. The 13-day force index was already positive, and there was at least 5-to-1 volume on the advancing issues versus declining issues, and also advancing volume versus declining volume. Okay, there really weren't any VPA flags around here, Paul, on this index. But remember, this is an index created by HGSI, and what it does is it takes all of the stock prices and it has to calculate the highs and lows for each one. So these candles may look a little bit different. What I'll do next is I will go to the QQQs, and we'll take a look at it. October 21st, Tom. Right here. See it? This is the day that they called the confirmed uptrend, and it actually looked good for a few days. It looked like it was moving. And then we know what happened. Had this pullback, and then the Fed meeting yesterday, and that really put a lot of fear into the market. based upon this big volume spike. But now, some buyers are starting to come back in today. We're seeing that. So, maybe this wasn't as big a disaster as it felt like yesterday, and it did feel like a disaster. It was really ugly. And look what happened up here. It was so ugly that all of these indicators reversed to the downside. More than 5-to-1 advancers versus decliners. Same thing on the volume. And the force indexes, which is today's close minus yesterday's close times today's volume. Here's a 13-day average of it. Here's a 2-day average of it. And then the volume point of control. And then a negative pocket pivot. So everything changed yesterday just with one day. But these signals over time, it's worth looking at these. I'm not going to guarantee that they're going to be right, but I put this chart together 15 years ago probably, and it's a pretty good indicator of when there's strong buying interest. So here is a buy signal back here, and we really didn't get any sell signals until right here. That was a pretty good run right there, wasn't it? So I don't know if any of you use these charts or not, but you really should. Now here's the QQQ. It's already typed in here. Let's put that up here. No, there were no VPA flags on it either. So just this one right here, which was stopping volume, well, it tells us right here. Strength seen returning after a downtrend. High volume up bar closing on the high indicates strength. Stopping volume, so there were multiple VPA flags here. This normally indicates end of bearishness. Strength seen returning and so on. I mean, this was an excellent signal right here, but everybody who jumped on here on the gap up the next day got hammered. So, but it was the market bottom so far until this area is taken out here. If it's not, and let's hope it's not, this low here will remain higher than this low. And then ideally, we'll start going back up like this. Have to take out this high for a trend to be in place. So these are dangerous times, as we all know. Any questions about this chart? Another chart, and let me go back to the designer. Let's go back to these broad market indices. Let's do the S&P 500 since that's heavily followed. And the number 5 chart I like to use a lot because it shows me the percentage of stocks above the 20, 30, 50-day moving averages and the 200-day. So on this move up here, I mean, this was a pretty strong move, really, because this went above the moving average, and you can see that these in the S&P 500 that the percentage of stocks above these moving averages was moving up pretty quickly. And, the market really could have been on a much longer run, but we had a speed trap yesterday, didn't we? And it still could recover. I'm not extremely bearish on the market, and the reason is I come in and look at these charts and things look different here than just looking at a single candle and saying, geez, I can't play anything. So what we're going to do, this chart got out of hand here. What we're going to do is we're going to go in and look at some charts. What else? Let me check my list here. Oh, I know what I want to do. I want to do that group inclusion report first. Also, I put together some charts here for the demo. I call them office hour charts. And I can dump these up here in the add-on if you if you want these charts in this group, but you can decide that later in this hour. Okay, let's go into the designer here. Okay, my top 50 group inclusion report from today. These are the top 50 stocks. Yeah, it's a tough market. Very tough. I mean, I'm not denying that. That's for sure. But what's encouraging about today, Paul and everybody else, is, we're seeing buyers stepping up in certain sectors and so on. And that gives me some hope. Anyway, let's transfer this over to the warehouse. And then I'm going to go down to my intraday stocks. Let's go ahead, or let me go ahead, and I want to get that. I'm going to put this back always on top, just so I know where it is. And on the intraday, I'm just going to go ahead and update the intraday stocks again. I usually just let this run and update every 5 minutes. Okay, so this is the way the top 50 group inclusion report is doing today, intraday as of right now, and you can see that it's not too shabby. Exploration and production, oil, gas, and services and equipment, biotech, and how many of these are up for the day? 41 of them are up. The ranges, I like to sort on the ranges to see which stocks are holding up the best as we go into the late hours, and you can see that there are several that are in the 90s and above. So pretty good list of stocks. I want to show you what you can do with this. I'm going to save list as. It's going into my download folder. It transfers the name of the group automatically. This is the top 50 for today. And then I'm going to go into my symbol list. And now you don't have to do this. I'm just showing you that it can be done. And I'm going to type symbol in here. Here's my top 50. I'm going to edit this. I'm going to clear the filter. I'm going to load that list of these 50 stocks right here. So it comes in automatically. Now I can take this filter, top 50 filter, and well, I'm going to have to do this a little differently here. I'm going to do it this way just to make sure you don't get messed up. Symbol list, top 50, group inclusion report. I'm attaching it to my primary intraday view. So you can see the top 50 is a symbol list. This is the filter that I'm using. And then I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to rebuild the user smart groups. Why am I doing this? I just want to show you that you can apply these top 50 stocks to any group and see how they're doing. It doesn't have to be a user smart group. It can be any group. Okay, so going down here to the user groups. Let's see if this works, if I did this correctly. So in the stocks and groups up intraday, I just rebuilt these, and out of these 50, these are the top 100 stocks based upon a combo rank. These are the ones where there is action today. Only, 6 of these are in that top 100. So if I click through here, This is in the stocks and groups up intraday, and you can see how these are doing. So that intraday group is picking up these, 6 stocks, showing me that they're moving up. But let's say that I'm interested in box stocks with the earnings out. Oh, that's not what I want. I want all box stocks. There. So I want to know how many of these are box stocks, HGSI box stocks, and I can just apply this filter and view to this smart group, and I immediately know that these are box stocks. I mean, I don't have to go to all this work to see it. I can look over here at this column, and it's going to tell me right here if these are box stocks or not. My point is, you can make a filter of these group inclusion report stocks and apply it to anything you want. Let's see if there's anything under high performance. These are stocks that are outperforming the S&P over 21 days, and you can see that these stocks are all outperforming the S&P. So if you're looking for strength, and that's what we're looking for in any market, but this is just a way to do this. Now let me do this. I don't want to get confused here. I want to go in, let's say I'm looking for Tom Williams stock scans. Tom Williams, and I'm going to show you a Tom Williams chart here in just 1 minute, that are box stocks. So all trends up. If I bring up this chart, well here, let me go into the warehouse. Just transfer it through. I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to bring up these other charts right now so we can compare. Well, this is one nice thing about HGSI. You can create any kind of chart you want to, and then you can analyze it. So I'm in this Tom Williams, all trends up. These are HGSI box stocks. You can see that over here they're box stocks. And this is a stock. This is A10 Networks, which I'm looking at with just a candlestick chart and VPA flags. I'm looking at a Williams chart, and I'm looking at a Heikin-Ashi chart, which averages the opening, close, and so on. I can't remember the formula. You can look it up on the internet. But this is built to help keep you on a trend. And you can see that as long as you have white candles, you should remain in the trend. Now this chart is in your charts if you're in the Insider Club. There's also a black version of it. The Williams charts are in there also. And what I like about the Williams charts is if a stock is up, closes higher than it closed the prior day, you're going to get a green bar. And it's just really easy to see visually. And if you get a 1 or 2 day pullback, it's not that big a deal. So I like that. And then this is just a plain old candle chart with VPA. Which are easier for you to analyze, or is there a preference? I don't know. I don't use the Heikin-Ashi. It's somebody asked about it though, and it's in there. Just do a search for it, and you'll find it. Or, like I said, I could include these charts in the add-on if you want me to, the group of them. But you like the Williams box stocks? Yeah, I mean, I like this too. Let's look at it. Let's just flip through these. Okay, now here, these are all trends up, and you can see that not counting today, this is based upon yesterday, of course. You can see the all trends are up here. Here's Berry Petroleum. These two bars are green. This one closed higher than this one. That's why it's included in the list. It's not nearly as nice a chart as we saw on that one stock. This is a buyout. Just ignore that. But visually, and with the help of the VPA flags, I almost lean more towards this chart than just plain old candlesticks, because it I don't know, it just seems a little bit smoother. Even though this is choppy, it looks much worse over here, doesn't it? With the choppiness and the black candles. But when you find a nice smooth chart, yeah, Paul, I know you use these because it just, okay, so here's a 3-4 day run, and then it pulled back, but this was just a 1 day pullback, and that's it. And then these two bars were inside of this bar, and then you had the big move up on United Therapeutic. Now, the candle charts, you just get a little different look. They're all the same, and the Heiken-Ashi chart is totally different. Now, Paul, you asked me what my favorite 3 charts were that I use. I primarily I use this. I use all these, to tell you the truth, but if I'm really going through stuff quickly, let me see if I can find a nice... okay, how about Torm? This is one that's broken out here. It's a high relative strength stock at 99. And you can see that it's out to a new high. Let me change this to, let's do a monthly chart. Well, there was something that happened here. I don't know if that's bad data or not, but this is a monthly chart of it, and you can see that volume came into it, and it's an energy stock or a shipping stock, I believe. But it's a nice chart for analyzing. Excuse me a second. Just because we have everything in here. We have a low volume test, a confirmation of that test, an effort to rise. We have a gap. And these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row, and then it goes into a consolidation area, as you can see right here. It little shakeout, but it doesn't go anywhere. Took out this low, but that closed above the low, so it wasn't much of a shakeout. And then another pullback here, and then a continuation of the trend. It's just a nice chart, and I've looked at this stock I don't know how many times, and I never bought it. Did anybody ever buy this? It's also a box 1 stock, which means the fundamentals. Look at the earnings growth on this stock. Unbelievable. And this is all during a really bad market. That's something that we have to take into consideration. Now, Paul asks about the charts I use. What I generally do is when I'm not looking at this chart, I will generally just go into these contextual charts. I'd like to use the black charts. The reason I do this is because I can easily see the relationship of the moving averages to where the stock is. Now, this is a low risk entry, which really shows up well on here. And looking at this daily chart here without the moving averages, I can't tell if this fan is in an uptrend or not. I don't know where the 3 crosses the 6. I don't know what the group's doing. This is a group line up here. I can see that the group's starting to move. I can see there are pocket pivots. I can see that the 3 went through the 6 right here with this histogram. I can see that even though this was going down, that the histogram line was not very far below the 0 line, so the selling pressure was coming off. At the same time, we had a low volume test. And then the other, here's the longer term, the 18 versus the 50. It never did go negative. And look at this, the volume point of control turned positive at the same time as the crossover. So I use this chart a lot, or the white version of it. Look what a great signal that was there. Back here, here's another great signal. Here's one here that didn't go as far, but there are multiple signals, so there's just a wealth of information in this chart. Now, like I said, I have a white version of this too. I'll use this, and then this is the same thing without the 1750. Let's see, the 200, the 100, and the 50. It's just the 3, 6, and the 18. So I get a little cleaner look at the crossover. I'll just run down through these quickly rather than lining them up side by side. Here's my intraday information over here. I like to look at this during the day, and then I'll look at a weekly chart too. So generally I'll look at the first chart that I showed, and then I'll look at a daily chart without the moving averages, and then I'll look at the weekly chart to look for support and resistance on here. This, I don't know. Look at this volume bar here, and this thing traded clear up to here. That doesn't seem right though. Seems like just bad data to me. And then there's some other charts that I like. Geez, what time? I can't believe how the time goes when I'm sitting here and talking. Let's just run through my list of charts, and then I want to get into the relative strength stuff with the next 10 minutes, and then we're going to look at some charts on that, okay? Well, first of all, I want to okay. Excuse me a second while I shouldn't have taken that filter off here now. Here it is. Here's the one I want right here. Just my regular filter for this. And now I want to go into, I'm not going to cover the bongo chart today. Robert's not on, and I'll pick it up the next time we get together and talk about it. It takes a little while to explain. Anyway, I want to go down to the relative strength scans. And I'm going to do the intraday, and I'm just going to go into all securities by hitting my alternate space bar, and then I will apply the filter and sort on raw combo. Now these are combo driven views, and look at this. There's 3,686 stocks in here. These are stocks that are assigned to industry groups. But just by using a combo rank, waiting at the intraday percentage price change 1 day, and the same thing for the range, and the raw relative strength, those 3 things, you can see what this brings to the top of the list. If you look down this column right here, out of the 3,686 stocks, notice that every one of these stocks are high relative strength stocks. So what does that say? And here's what they're doing today. It says just by using a combo, and I've said this in the past over the years, the combo sometimes is more important than the filter, because I'm not using a filter on here. I'm just using a basic filter. Last close $1, 100,000, group rank greater than 0. So these are all assigned to groups. But the combo does all the work. So if you are looking for stocks, both the end of day and intraday, in the market, even in a crappy market, you can just come in and use this scan. I'm just using this one right here, relative strength scan. I'm using the intraday. Here's the end of day. Here's the intraday. And if you update your, let me see here. I just used a different I just used a different combo rank. So just these two right here, 1 and 2, and I need to go in and check these. I'm not going to take the time to do it right now. But just using 1 or 1A, you're going to get some stocks up here that look pretty darn good, even in a unsure market like this. So let's go. Let me go back here, put this chart on. Let's get rid of this designer. And let's just look at a few of these stocks. Now, why is this a high relative strength stock? I'll tell you why, because 40% of the ranking is based upon the last 3 months. The rest of the ranking is based upon the prior 9 months, weighted at 20. This is 40% here. So even though this stock looks like this and has come down, when compared to all of the other stocks in the database over a 1-year time period, with 40% of the weight on this month, and this month, it's still a high relative strength stock. It's a RS of 99. So it just means that a lot of the other stocks in the database are a lot worse than this one is, based upon the ranking. Let's just flip through a few of these, and hopefully we can find some better charts. Now, look at this one today. This is today's bar. So, what's the deal here? Is this this is earnings day, 11:02, or yesterday was earnings. You can see no, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong column here. There's no earnings date on here, but let's do this. Oh, I forgot the symbol. VOC. Nothing. It's got to be news related. I don't see anything. Gold drops over 1%. What would that have to do with this? But on the positive side, look how this combo drove this stock to the top of the list. And it's probably been there most of the day, because its range is at 99.55, even when it was, say, trading down here. And forget this part of the bar up here. When it was down here, it would have been trading at 100% of its range at that point in the day. So the combos will drive these to the top of the list. It's no guarantee it's going to keep going like this one did, but this intraday range is very, very useful. More so than the intraday price change, because it tells you if there is a lot of demand for a stock intraday, and it keeps going. Let's look at Modine Manufacturing. Okay, now this is a 90, what is this, 97 chart, and you can see that this one has been moving up very nicely. Now let's go to a few different charts here. Okay. This is my white version of the chart that I showed you before, and you can see the crossover right here, right there, on a pocket pivot. The blue lines are a pocket pivot, and the VPOC was already positive. I'm going to go down to, I'll look at my continuation. This continuation chart, and it's in your charts right now, whenever the 3 has crossed the 6 and it's beyond the 3 is above the 6 and you have a pocket pivot, and it's going to generate a green bar here. It just means that even though you miss the trade, there is still a huge demand for this stock. So every green bar represents demand, and there has to be a pocket pivot, and the blue areas represent pocket pivots. So even though the crossover on this stock was back here and you missed it with this continuation, and I have a continuation scan in my scans. I'm not going to go to it right now. I can't cover all this today, unfortunately. It will find these stocks that are continuing and show you when there is it meets all the criteria. What I wanted to show you, though, is go down to this last chart. This is the relative strength chart. Let's make this full screen. So here's the S&P up here. If this blue line is going up, this stock is outperforming the S&P. So you can see from this point on, S&P was going down. This stock was holding steady. S&P moved up there one day, and then the S&P was moving up. But this stock was moving up faster. How do I know? Because this blue line is headed up. And this is the group line right here. Now, if you want to look for stocks that are outperforming the S&P, you can see why I'm going to have a webinar series, because there's so much in here that if you want to know it, I'm going to have to go through this all in segments rather than just jumping around. But if you go up to this top-down process for market analysis, performance versus the S&P 500, all of these columns over here, you can sort on them to see which stocks are outperforming the S&P. And then that would correspond. The ones that are outperforming, let's bring up another chart here. Well, that's not a chart that I want. Let's try Chegg, see what it's doing. Well, you can see it was underperforming all through here, and then on this gap up, it started outperforming. But there's ways to screen for all of this in layouts that I've set up. I want to go back to that relative strength, though. So there are just a variety of charts in here that give you different information, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. And it's very, very helpful to look at a stock in multiple different ways. Do most of you just look at one chart? You don't have to answer me, I guess. But let's do one more thing. I didn't get very far with my hour, did I? I wanted to do, oh, I know. I'm going to show you that continuation scan, okay? I'm just going to quickly go down through some of these. These are my, right here was 01, my daily prospecting scans. This is the intraday. Just this scan alone, intraday, will bring some great stocks to the top of the list. These are stocks that have pulled back a little bit from the high. This is what they're doing today. This continuation indicator is down here. It's 6 and 6A. So all of these stocks that are passing this filter, and if I go back to that continuation VFB chart and click on this, you can see that this is a cheap or inexpensive stock, but it meets the requirements because the 3 cross the 6 back here. There are all these pocket pivots here. It just means there's demand for this stock, even though it's in a massive downtrend. But where was the low here on this first pocket pivot? Let's see. The close was 327 there. It's currently closing at 495, and it had multiple continuation signals. Let's see if we can find a little better looking chart here. Okay, this is a good example. So it came down here. The 3 crossed the 6 with an effort to rise and pocket pivots. You can see the 3 went above the 6 with this histogram, and then it pulled away. So if I'm using the VPOC crossover, which happened clear back here, or the 3-6 crossover, which happened here, this stock would no longer appear through those screens. So this is why I came up with this continuation scan and chart, so I can see stocks where there is continuing demand, even though my triggers have been triggered, I guess the way to say it. So the triggers happen back here, one on the VPOC and then the 3 crossing the 6. There would be a 2-day window here, but then after that I wouldn't see this stock unless I use this continuation scan and the continuation chart. Let's do one more, see if I can find something else. I'm not familiar with, here's First Solar. I missed it. Let me go back to it. See what it looks like. Okay, First Solar. Earnings came out, I think, here or here. Anyway, here's the VPOC signal, clear back here. Here's the 3 crossing the 6. There would have been a 2-day window here, and then after this, I would have lost sight of it unless I use this continuation scan. By using the continuation scan, VPOC still positive, the 3 still above the 6. I'm getting a pocket pivot or an effort to rise. It's an either or situation. So this tells me there's still demand for this stock, and it went up. It didn't get the green bar today because there's no pocket pivot. You can see volume is off a little bit. But all of these other days tell me that this stock is in great demand. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm out of time, unfortunately. We'll do another one of these in a couple of weeks. You have any questions about what I showed you today? These are not really well structured, as you can see, but I just try to cover things that I think may be interesting and to show you the power of the software. You're welcome. I hope you can, when I do that webinar series, if I do it after the first year, I'll just do this in little chunks of stuff, really cover things in depth. Like I may devote a whole session to finding high relative strength continuation charts. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to shut this thing down, and I'll get the video out to you tomorrow so you can review it. Any questions before I go? Yeah, it's going to be, Yeah, it does fly. I'm not going to do it until after the first year. I'm not, there's just too much going on, like I said before. I'm going to be gone some of the time and so on. Anyway, thanks for coming, and I wish everybody would have come, but they can watch the video. Thanks again.